everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson Soapery. Today I thought I'd do a small video answering your questions. I do get quite a few questions privately messaged to me, and sometimes on my YouTube channel about, can I actually do a business? Is it going to work? Is it hard? How do you formulate things? There's so many different questions I get asked. So hopefully today I can answer a few of your questions. But if I don't answer anything you want to know, I'm pretty transparent, and honestly, I don't mind. You can message me, and of course I will give you my best advice. I definitely don't know everything, but this is just clearly speaking from my own experiences and how things have worked for me. So first things first, I must start by saying, yes, you can do your own business, and yes, you may be successful, but also you may not be. Having a business is hard work. So I always think the ones that succeed are the ones that are super, super dedicated. Myself, I don't do a normal 40 hours. Honestly, I probably work 70 to 80 hours a week. That's from doing my video, making the products. I do markets on the weekend. I often don't go away on holidays because all of my time is put into this business, but that's because I'm really passionate about it. And I actually love it. I don't feel that I'm losing out at all. I really do love what I do. But anyway, we'll get going with this video. And in between this video, what I'm actually going to be doing is making some things. Well, you can see I already made them actually, and I've got to actually put them all together and stick them and, put some labels and so on. And then of course, I'm going to be putting some papers and some plastic covers on them to protect them because we are in COVID at the moment, and we do our best to make sure everything has been done the right way here. So all my benches are sanitized and everything prior to me doing this video, so I will do that bit. But let's get back to answering the questions. So let me grab my paper, pen and my coffee, and I'll come back and answer some more questions. All right, let's start with the questions. So we're going to start with the most popular question I get asked, and that is, how much does it cost to actually start a soap business? Well, there's lots of variables in that, so it depends on what you're going to make, whether it's candles or soap, bath bombs, and so on. But generally, I would say you need about $1,000 to $2,000 to start a business. And the reason I say that kind of money is you do need to buy some things in bulk. You can't be buying a 1 kilo bag of wax to sell a candle because you will literally make no money. When you're buying 1 kilo, that's just to have a practice, to see if you like it, and that maybe is a good idea at the start, just to see if you even like making candles, or see if you even like making bath bombs. Bath bombs are messy. You may hate it. There's some soap makers that don't do them because they're so messy and they're a very low price point. But for me, I do sell quite a lot. But the journey of actually having your business is a long one. So sometimes you can start like I did with making soap and bath bombs, and then I went into candles. Although I did make candles when I was very young. I remember at school there was a bit of a class, and I did them at school. So that's where I came back to candles though. But for me, a lot of my business is combined of soap, bath bombs, and then of course candles, and in between, I do face creams and things like that. But anyway, getting off topic. So the main thing that I really want to talk about is the cost. So please, when you're thinking about going into this kind of business, think about buying in bulk. You need to buy a candle wax box, which will be about 22 kilos compared to your 1 kilo. And the 22 kilos, I think I pay roughly about $130 in Australia. And that is for the 464 wax, like I said, for about the 22 kilos. And I can make hundreds of candles with that. But, like I said, if I did buy them in 1 kilo, then that $130 would probably end up being $400. Because, it does add up buying it singularly. And the reason for that is the candle company, literally, if you buy a box, they just ship it out to you and they don't have to do any work at all. But, if you buy 1 kilo, they've got to undo boxes, they've got to put it into separate bags, which is all manhandling everything, takes them time, then they've got to charge you more money. So that's the reason why you get charged more as well. So do try and buy in bulk if you can. if you're going to start with candles, I would say literally just buy one box at the start. Buy a few vessels. Vessels are jars, to make your candles. You don't have to buy the expensive ones. Start with a really basic candle to start with. Your frosted or your clear ones are the basic ones. And I would just start with those. Or I think in America you might call them jelly jars. We don't call them that here at all. Maybe they're jam jars here or mason jars. But, just start with something like that and see how you go to start with. So, so in getting to the answer of the question, I would say, honestly, you need probably $2,000. That is a realistic amount because before you even sell anything, you need to pay insurance. So, in Australia, our insurance is anything from $30 a month up to $200 a month, depending how big your business is. So in the costs to start up, you need to have money for insurance. You need to have money for the products that you're going to be making. And that means, sourcing the raw materials such as shea butters, cocoa butters, like I said, waxes, vessels, colorants, micas, scents. They all cost a lot of money. But look, most soap makers honestly spend tens of thousands a year, but that's when you're making money. So at the start, a couple thousand I think is realistic. People often say, can I start with $500? And my answer would be no. Honestly, it'll cost you more. I mean, I can say yes, but that's not true. It will cost you more money than that. It's very hard to start on $500. So if, you're thinking, oh, that's all I have, I would keep my day job at the moment, whatever job you're doing, and just put a bit of money aside and keep doing that until you have enough to start this business on the side. Even myself, I didn't just spend all the money. I'm an average person, so I didn't have that kind of money. I was actually working full-time and then investing into my business at the same time. So when I very first started doing this. So that's how I got started, and that's how many of us get started at home. Or there's quite a few that are mums at home. Their kids are going off to school, and there might just be a little bit more money in the family budget, so that way you can slowly start to make things and keep going. So anyway, that's number one. So let me find my sheet. I do actually have a few set aside that people have actually asked me. So yeah, like I said, how much money does it cost to set up? So that's what we've just talked about. Insurance, like I've said, explained that. Logistics, that's really important. So when someone buys something from you, if you've got a website and they actually buy something, so for instance, for me, if I'm going to send something to the United States from Australia, it can cost up to $90 for a parcel to be sent. I don't charge the full amount of the postage to the US. I often give the customer a discount. They don't know that. I just charge them less. So, but when I'm actually sending it, I actually have to pay for that before I even get the money. So if somebody orders today, usually tomorrow or the next business day, I try and send the order straight out. And that means I've actually got to pay for it before the money has even come into my bank account. So yeah, you do need that kind of money to be in your bank account to start with. But I mean, of course, you'll make the money once you get paid. But at the start, you do need money for that. You also need money for things like boxes, satchels, all the different wraps that you might need. You may need some bubble wrap, some shrink wrap. They're all things that cost money as well. A website also costs money. If you're looking at a website, I honestly can tell you Shopify is one of the best I've seen. We have just gone over to Shopify maybe 3 months ago now. Before that, I had a different website. Honestly, it wasn't very good. It was just like a cheaper kind of company. I won't mention names, but it was a cheaper rate. And I think I pay at the moment roughly $40 a month for Shopify. But I have all the analytics so I can see who's coming to my store, what are they buying, why aren't they buying, are they actually even filling up their cart and not paying for it at the end? Is there too many costs with shipping? I mean, there's lots of things, so you can look into that. But usually a website about $40 a month. And by the way, I am actually not sponsored at all by Shopify or any company at all. I don't get paid by anybody. These are just my own advice. So, and I really hope my advice does help. You can also start off with a platform like Etsy. My husband says I say it wrong all the time, but anyway, that's what I call it, Etsy, or is it ST? I'm not sure. But anyway, I did start off with them as well, and most of my, well, all of my orders actually were all overseas. I didn't sell anything in Australia, just overseas. But I just felt it wasn't really for me. It may be for someone else. It is a great platform because it is a big platform, but I really feel that Etsy is maybe good for a lot of people in America, because America has a big population. In Australia, our population is really small, and it's not a very big platform here. A lot of people still don't know about it. Before I started making soap, I had never bought anything on it. I've never even landed on their page. So that's what I mean. In Australia, it's just not very big. But my daughter is on it. She sells earrings and has her own business, and she does very well. So, and she's had thousands of orders in a couple months. So it depends on what you're going to sell. That would be the main thing. But for me, I think for soap, the thing we've got to remember is soap is heavy. Soap actually is really heavy, and soap actually, you know, costs more money because it's heavy. But if you're selling things like earrings, they're really light and maybe only cost a couple dollars to send. So, but give that a go or have a look into it. You know, the things that I'm suggesting today, they're just suggestions. So I really suggest that you just go and do research. I spent a lot of time researching. I even do buy other soap makers' products. I don't analyze their product or anything like that. I don't do reviews or anything. I just simply like to try them and see how they are. And I've come across some absolutely beautiful soap makers. And I've even bought soap you know, from Canada. So I had some shipped in from Quench that I bought, and that was amazing soap too. So, you know, it just, you know, I always say, you know, just be kind to everyone, and we're a community that can help each other. So I don't just use my own products. I do like to use others and just, you know, see the difference in, you know, was mine, you know, as good as that, or, you know, was mine, you know, creamy as their bar and things like that. But it's nice to just try anyway. You can also, this is something, you know, that I thought, oh, look, I'll talk about this. People always say to me about the costs at running at a market or a farmer's market, I think you call it in the US. In Australia, we call it a craft market. So I actually do pretty much all of my markets, well, they are all from the same company that runs several across Victoria where I am. That's the state I live in. And what that actually, it's called Craft Market Australia. So they've got about 8 or 9 different ones on different weekends. So often I'll do a Saturday and a Sunday as well. And then I might have a 2-week break, and then I might do 3 in a row or something like that. But basically the minimum cost, the least cost that I pay is $80 a day just to the market. Then on top of that, I've got to add in my petrol and then of course insurance. So realistically, it will cost me at least $100 a day. That is absolute minimum that it would cost me. So that also comes into your cost. As I was saying, you know, they're things that you really need to look at the start. If you're not making lots of money, I'd just book into one, just do one, and then maybe one the month later. That's how I first started. And it is a great way to start, because once people know you, they'll come back to the market. But generally, I think you need to make $200 at a market before you make any money. Because remember, the you know, product behind me, that costs money to make. So if you work it out in a business sense, you know, all the costs that you've got involved, plus the cost of this, selling it, and then your profit margin, you know, after you hit that 200, then it's pretty good profit. You know, you might be making 70%, but before that, you know, it's just all costs going out. So, and do equal all of that cost into it, because if you don't, you will not survive. So anyway, that's the first bit that we'll talk about. The second one that I get talked, you know, people ask me this quite often actually, is how do I formulate recipes? Well, when I first started, I actually started with Royalty Soaps. They actually had a recipe in it, just like I Leave recipes. And, you know, I didn't sell it at all back then, but I was just playing with my, you know, with all my own kind of recipes and how I thought, you know, it should look. I was so proud of it, the first one, but after I did a few, I realized, oh, this wasn't good, because you learn as you go along. So I would definitely suggest not to sell the first bar that you make or the first loaf you make. Try a few and let them cure and then see what you think, you know, because you will get better. But you can also go to websites like Soap Calc, and you just tap in all of the oils that you're going to put in, and the Soap Calc will tell you the lye, the water, and it will tell you if the bar's hard enough. It will just tell you lots of different things all about the bar as well. One mistake that I made is I used to put lots of coconut oil in because I thought that made the bar harder. Yes, it does, but it's really drying on the skin, and it was actually a terrible bar to use. So yeah, so that would be my suggestion of, you know, playing and making a few before you start. The same as bath bombs, they look like this tiny little ball that's so easy, but honestly it's so hard. When I first started making bath bombs, I thought this is going to be so easy. I'm going to be an absolute whiz at making these bath bombs, but honestly I soon realized how hard it was going to be, and yeah, and seriously, I was actually terrible at it. You made it look so hard, I think, at the start, and it really was hard because often bath bombs, they just don't hold, or they fizz out, and I didn't realize that you need dehumidifiers and things like that. And while we're on that subject, that is also another cost if you're making bath bombs. Things such as dehumidifiers, and that's a machine that you would use, which helps with the air for your bath bombs to make them harder, because bath bombs are tricky little things, and if you have Epsom salts and things like that, it will suck some moisture into the bath bomb, and then of course it doesn't work, and it can expand, or it can be crumbly and fall apart. So yeah, so all of those things definitely do, you know, like I said, come into learning and making and learning all about it. So if you're first starting and you haven't made soap, I suggest you actually make soap first, because I think soap is easier to make than a bath bomb, even though you wouldn't think that, but I really do. And then once you get really good at that, maybe then make a candle, or maybe then go on to bath bombs. But even candles, people think, oh, it's a candle, like how hard can it be? It's actually hard. There is a lot of formulating in a candle. So you don't just pour it into a container and it all works. It can be, you know, all rough at the top, or it doesn't burn properly. There's lots of testing involved. When I first started, people said to me, oh, that's so easy, you know, anyone can make that. Well, no, they can't. So you'll soon realise. And yeah, so anyway, so that's my next kind of question answered, isn't it? Hopefully I answered that right, because like I said, this is not a script. I'm just reading it as I'm going along, and hoping it's the right thing for you as I'm obviously wrapping these up, because I was talking too much and forgot to wrap them up. But anyway, like I said, I've got to do these. These are my little samples that I give out. See, that's what I'm just saying. As I'm talking, I think of things all the time. Even that, a sample, it costs money, you know. But the one thing I've realised with making soap, people expect a sample, because most companies will give out samples, and if you don't, they just go, oh, well, such and such gave me one, well, I'll go back to them. So you don't have to give samples all the time, but I do suggest that when you're first growing, even a small one, you don't give a massive one. I mean, even this is like a little slither of a bar, you can kind of see, just like the slither, it's real thin, but you could cut that in half there again and just give quarter of a bar. You know, they don't have to have a whole bar. It's basically just so that you're giving them extra. But I actually like it, because that way they see if they love it, and then they'll come back, and often I have people come back and buy extra things anyway, but that's just my nature anyway. I just like to, you know, I do like to give things to people and see what they think, because that's really important as well. The legals of the business. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so this is, like I said, only my opinion. So please don't take anything on a legal thing from me. You know, when you're looking at insurance, I really suggest you go and talk to a lawyer, or go and talk to a broker. So for me, I actually went and talked to a broker, and I explained to them the kind of business I did, what I was hoping to achieve for my business, and then we went from there, because I didn't want to grow big and then have to change all of my policies and everything too much. So that was basically where I first started looking into the legal side, but you do need indemnity insurance, and you will, and most markets will actually ask for that. And of course, you know, you just need insurance for your own business because you are making a product that is going onto someone's skin. You'll also need to register. If you're in Australia, what we do is we have to register to be a soap maker to be able to sell it. So I could make it for myself and never let anyone else use it, and that's fine. But the minute you're selling your product or even giving it away, you'll be amazed if you give that away and somebody gets an allergy or something happens, then they can end up taking that further. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So I strongly suggest that you get insurance, even if you're giving it to family, cousins, friends, because, you know, sometimes things can go pear-shaped really fast with other people. So yeah, like I said, that's my suggestion. And you know, and your insurance, look, mine's about $65 I think a month, roughly. So if we look here, even here, me talking about all the different costs, so already my insurance, we're looking at say $60 a month. My indemnity is $30 a month, so that's $90. Then on top of that, I have to pay almost $100 a year for my registration. And then, of course, I have to pay for each market that I'm doing and my website each month. So even if I sell nothing, no products at all, then I still have to pay for my website and all those things. So I'm still out of pocket, maybe about $180 a month if I don't sell anything. So, you know, and even if you don't sell on Shopify, you still pay. So, and, you know, once you get your website up, don't think someone's going to come and buy straight away. That's not how it works. Once your website's up, it takes time for people to come to your website. For me, I actually pay a company, which I've just started doing. I'm actually paying a company to do all the AdWords and the SEO for me. So, you know, and there's companies out there that spend $50,000 a month. So we're never going to get in front of those companies. We're too small. But you know, that's kind of the whole idea, isn't it? To try and at least be able to play a little bit with the big players. But I'm not like that. I don't have that kind of money. But like I said, you know, once again, they're sort of costs and things, aren't they? Also, I get asked, you know, about the costs of market setups. I did do a video on market setups and how to set it up and things like that. So make sure that your, you know, your tables are really interesting as well. Don't just go there and just put a, you know, plain white table with no tablecloth. I've seen that before. And I always think to myself, oh, the poor thing, they're not going to make any money. Because you're not. I mean, if you just do a boring table, no tablecloth or anything like that, it doesn't really look like you're professional or that you're prepared. So often people just go, oh, no, and they just don't buy. So, yeah, I really suggest that you do, like I said, look into that and, you know, try and make sure that you sort of feel that you're on a playing field with some of the others. But, you know, go to your local discount store. You know, I think in America you might call it Walmart. In Australia it's Kmart. And, you know, just get some, you know, little cheese boards and stick them together, or something of interest that you can use on your table. For me, I use wood and matte black because that way it doesn't get too dusty. And the products look really beautiful and natural, and I add a bit of greenery and things like that in there. So, yeah, so if you want to do anything, you know, and be successful at a market, I suggest that you look into and pay a little bit extra just to make your store set up and make it look really beautiful. Now the next thing, well, now this is an important one actually, and no one really thinks about this. Well, I've not had many people think about it, but because you know, of just different industries that I've been in my life, I do know a little bit about it. So one of it is policies and complaints. You need to think about a policy for your company. So if you're going to have, you know, on an online thing such as Shopify, you need to have things like, you know, a return policy, you know, complaints policy, COVID policy, you know, like how you're going to follow things. We're in the middle of COVID. So I've had to create something to show what I'm going to do with that, you know. So these are all things that are really, really important. So look into policies as well. You can actually pay people to do it. Luckily for me, I have experience, so I have created my own policies, and I have an older daughter who's a nurse and does policies as well. Being a nurse, they know a lot about that, but generally I've done most of them on my own anyway. But if you go on something like Shopify, they usually have ones already set up anyway, so you can actually use the Shopify one and sort of go from there. And that's actually a really good one if you can actually use theirs as well. Another thing I get asked quite often is I have no support. Nobody's supporting me. My husband doesn't think it's a good idea, or a friend doesn't, or no one's buying from me. My friends aren't buying from me. Can I tell you something really honestly? I have never once, except for my mother-in-law, she's the only one that has bought from me. I've had no family and no friends ever buy a product from me, ever. All of my customers are people that have literally found me on TikTok or YouTube, just different platforms. But I've never had anyone besides my mother-in-law, who is an absolute beauty. She's just so sweet and gorgeous and loves my product. But honestly, other than that, nobody else has ever bought it. So don't feel upset if nobody buys your product. If somebody doesn't support you, I honestly would sit there and just ask yourself, is this what you want to do? Don't think about someone else. Just ask yourself, is this right for you? For me, I already know that answer. I know this is right for me. So, at the end of the day, no one else is going to pay your bill. So you have to think, is it right for you? And you know what? You've got to give it a go. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. But like I said, I just would not give up my job, because at the start, no one makes money when you own your own business. I mean, owning your own business is a tough gig. It really is. It's very tough. You've got to do your taxes and everything else. So, that's what I said. That comes into research as well. So, yeah, try not to worry too much about other people. And also, I read here a little while ago somebody saying, oh, but this particular person, I'm so upset because this particular person's doing better than me, and I can't start because there's another soap company or someone else is making candles. When I first started at the market I'm working at, I had other candle makers say to me, oh, there's a lot of candle makers here, you may not make any money about that. But yeah, don't worry about your competition. Just run your own race and then you'll be fine. So in finishing my video today, I thought that we would just finish by saying thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening to me. So I've given you, I think, a few answers, and I really hope that those answers have really helped you or inspired you to sort of look into a little bit of, how you're going to be starting your own business, or just, look, honestly, even start by following some YouTube people. There's some amazing ones. There's a few I can give you. Tree Marie, she's amazing. I watch her all the time. I also watch Soy and Shay. I really like them. I think it's Mrs. Clay. I really like her as well. Eden Secrets I watch. Royalty Soaps. There's so many that you can watch that are really, really good. And one English one that I've started watching lately that I really, really do like, and that's Cozy Aroma. So, but they're a much bigger company than me. So, and they do a lot of orders. But they're more kind of, I always see them as kind of like a wholesale company. Maybe they're not, but that's how I see them. But they have some great ideas too, and they do give a few business tips. So go and have a look at them and see how you go. And TikTok also has some great ideas. But number one advice, the last finishing advice I should give you, go onto social media. It's totally free. So that's how I first started getting my most advertisement out there. It was free advertising on TikTok. I went on TikTok and one of my videos ended up going viral. So that's how I literally ended up with lots and lots of followers. And then from that, Instagram, and then I decided YouTube. When I first did YouTube, I thought, who's going to actually listen to an old lady talk about soap? But I'm amazed how many people subscribe and like all my videos. I think we've had over, 1,500 hours watched in 3 months. So yeah, so it's amazing. It really does honestly amaze me all the time. And I'm really, really grateful that people think that I'm helpful, and I can help them in their little journey as well. Or even if you're just sitting at the computer, you've got a coffee and a bicky, and you think, look, I'll just go and watch that lady and see what she's making today. That's also really, really lovely. So please give me a thumbs up if you think this is worthy, of course. And if this has helped you at all, I'd love to know, of course. And make sure you do something amazing for somebody today. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.